Bar we grano we nitty bong mates. Hey, look what I found! Content! So getting right into it, what we have here is Studio Series 86 Voyager class Wreck-Gar. But before that, let me get the packing diorama out of the way. I guess it's pretty neat that the planet junk gets a bit of love, given how much we see of it in the movie. Even comes with a sleek, sexy import, presumably with turbo handling. But are you really concerned about a bit of cardboard that's just gonna take up too much space? Please don't pretend that the answer is yes. But back to the thing in the video that actually matters. So naturally with this sublights hyperfocus on getting the toys to match the screen models as much as humanly possible, it only makes sense for it to replicate Wreck-Gar's frequently seen motorcycle alt mode. And as impractical as this Mad Max chopper may be, I do actually really like it. First things first, it's surprising just how solid this thing not only feels, but looks as well. Which is ironic as it arguably does the worst job possible hiding the robot mode bits. You have the legs sitting right there which draw your attention to the feet, which is plugging into what will become the robot mode shoulders, which then leads to the arms awkwardly stretching forward to grab onto the wheel like Psykill's idiot cousin. You can even see the back of the head with the bare minimum predominant details to allude to some form of realism. And yet despite the obviousness of the robot mode kibble, he totally sells it. Maybe it's the color scheme coloring the figure in an unusual beige, brown, orange, and red combo like the inside of a Subway sandwich. Or it could be the general shape of it with how the robot mode bits just flow seamlessly into each other with only a few small gaps along the way. Also really fond of these tire-piercing spikes on the sides to give the sense of tacky edginess to what is otherwise an Eric Idle character. Though I am a tad bit confused how this thing's ever supposed to roll gracefully given it has a bunch of Lego studs on the wheels. Forget rolling on a planet of junk, this one was struggling with a basic stretch of tarmac. Still, thank Primus, or Rung, for these stabilizers. As for things you can do in this mode, you can adjust these little ball-jointed shooters here in the front, though I doubt he could do much given that these guns are already as high as most characters' shins. You can also take this weird pinwheel axe thing and plug it onto a hole in the back of the bike. I'm glad that he has weapon storage, but it does kind of look like a boat propeller now. And you can probably take another Wreck-Gar and put him on top to make him look like he's riding him, which is cool if you can find another one. Otherwise, you can basically put any properly sized figure on top of him. Case in point, Studio Series 86 Blur. Not a great example, but I hope you get the idea. So overall, while somewhat tacky, Wreck-Gar's bike mode is a surprisingly wicked chopper with Road Warrior energy that just can't be topped. And it honestly works a lot better as an old mode than animated dump truck or Reveal the Shield's dirt bike. Which, given he's supposed to be made out of junk, does make a lot of sense. And now, we come to the Girardi Do Run Run robot mode. Why did I say that? The transformation itself is actually really smart. The limbs themselves are pretty simple in that you just straighten them out, but then the torso completely unfurls and then recollapses in upon itself in a completely different way. I'm sure some people will be put off by the wheel parts forming, but I think we'll live. And thanks to the clever engineering, he basically had zero kibble hanging off of him. The figure itself though is a near flawless representation of Floro Deary's character model in warts and all detail. But it must be said that the base design doesn't exactly say that this is a transforming robot who speaks the forbidden language of infomercials. I'm getting more of a 70s era post-apocalyptic comic book Viking with incidental wheel dressing, like if Ragnar Lothbrok was wearing an armor made out of potato sacks. I mean, I know that the movie boss were designed specifically to sell new toys while the old ones get lumped in the bin, but I never realized just how little Wreck-Gar actually fits into the world of Transformers until I got this figure in person. Now, with that being said, I absolutely love the look of this guy. Like, look at that face with the silent cartoon villain mustache and the 12-beard combo. Not a surprise that I relate hard to robots with facial hair. I kind of love how they shape the head to look like the front of the bike while the actual piece is hiding away inside the torso. And then we move down to the chest where we see the twin shooters from earlier are also doubling its extremely overt nipples. Add to the fact that they're also on ball joints and it starts to feel a little bit awkward. The arms are pretty standard aside from the spoke spike sticking out of the forearm. And coming to the legs, it kind of comes across like he put sunscreen on his cars while the fires went through a tanning booth. The color placement is absolutely all over the shop, but he totally makes it work with the whole made of rubbish aesthetic. But with that said, the actual level of detail is pretty minimalist. Like, he's got plenty of lines and round bits where it counts, but a lot of the surface area is left completely flat as to match his on-screen appearance. Which is honestly a shame, as the wrong line can make the materials look cheap in comparison to the labyrinth of detail we get from the War for Cybertron trilogy. But of course, his posing game is certainly more than acceptable. The head is on a ball joint, albeit a restricted one that can only turn and look up due to the molding. Universal shoulder joints with bicep swivel, hinged elbows, and a slight wrist swivel, though it is pretty tight. And then there's the aforementioned chest shooters, which leads to a loose waist swivel and a floppy ab crunch. Legs move back and forth while these hip panels move out of the way so we can do the splits on these faux ratchet joints. All that rounded up with hip swivel, decent knee bend, and probably the strangest ankle pivots I've ever seen. Like, they don't bend here, they bend here. Why? Accessory-wise, there are ports on the arms and the legs, so you can just plug the wheels onto them however you want. You can even cheat a little bit and get two on the same arm for a makeshift boxing glove. As for the axe, he can hold it in either hand and just wave it around like a pinwheel. Or you can use this pole in the back for some pretty decent weapon storage. Though I guess you can also plug it into the same port from the bike mode, even if it has ended up on his ass. As for comparison with other Wreck-Gars, I don't know. This is literally the only one I've got. I was never really interested in getting Wreck-Gar for the collection, as he would basically have nowhere to go. But of course, it's made appears that he fits in perfectly with your other G1 movie castmates. But regardless of whether or not he fits in, Wreck-Gar is still a surprisingly rewarding experience and a nifty addition to the collection. Is he perfect? Not really. But that's kind of his whole deal, so it's fitting that he has a few imperfections. Besides, he's still a neat little package that I know you won't regret picking up. The offer expires while you wait, but operators are standing by. So thanks for watching, and special thanks to In Demand Toys for hooking me up with this guy. But until next time, because there always will be one, this is Callum Lewis, the Media Hood, signing off.